Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 Wii U review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the wonderful 101, which if you've never played it before, it's an action game. It's you'll see once you play it why Nintendo are promoting it with Pikmin with a digital offer. I didn't go for that though because I managed to get both discs for cheaper than the digital offer, and it means I've got the freedom to trade them in if I decide I get sick of them, you know. It's one of them. I doubt I'll be getting rid of them for a very long time because it's something that I enjoy, and replaying them to get better scores and things. And just with Pikmin, I just used to love replaying the first one anyway because it was so good. And while I was a bit disappointed with the third one, it still is a decent game, and considering the drought that the Wii U's in, beggars can't be choosers at this moment in time. Options wise, you can view the controls, but you can't really change them. You can change like just the 4 main buttons, I suppose, so the face buttons, and you can only change them in 3 ways. You can't custom, but to be fair, I think that might be because almost every combination is fathomed by the 3. It's there is probably a slight tweak that you could do by custom, so I don't know why they just didn't allow that in the first place, and probably would have saved them some time. Controller settings though, you can change like the axis and that. You can view your controls, of which there's quite a few to learn. However, there's not every button is used, and it is a bit of an annoyance because there are a lot of people slating the controls because they're overly complicated, they don't really work all that well, and unfortunately I agree with them. It's something that honestly the ZL and ZR buttons probably could have been you know, swap forms that rather than having to draw or use the right analog or even left click in right click or something, and then because all the functions that you can do in the game with other buttons, because I mean left click does that, so like the left thumbstick in could have been assigned to other places, or even the morphing things could have just been you touch the screen to change, you don't have to draw or anything. The reason I went into the missions is because this is somewhere you're probably going to want to spend a lot of time, because it's the only place you really get to practice. Because you can sit in here not having to worry about fighting any enemies, not having to worry about the camera screwing you over or anything like that, and you can go through all of the morphs. You can just pretty much do whatever you want, and there's quite a lot to go through. And even though I'm on an early file here where I haven't unlocked half of these abilities that I'm currently doing, because I don't want to spoil the story or anything, it still lets you practice them. So once you learn what they are, then you can still do them. So I think I've pretty much showed everyone off except maybe the whip and the hammer. And this is the whip, and I'm no good with a hammer, so I don't know if I will be able to get to show it off. It's just basically a bit of trial and error, I suppose, on my behalf, but I'll give up soon enough if I don't look like I'm going to get it, which I don't think I am. This is one of the big problems with not having the controls in front of me at this moment in time. But either way though, it's just somewhere that you are going to want to spend probably a little bit of time to practice the things. You can probably tell I need to come here and practice the hammer. So it's nice that there is at least somewhere you can go, because that's something that a lot of the reviewers are absolutely slamming, and they're saying that the game doesn't spoon feed you, which is good. But at the same time, they're saying that there's nowhere to really do anything in practice, and there is if you just go in there. Hell, you don't even have to have the powers unlocked. You know, you can go online, you can get someone to draw the diagrams for you, you can find the pictures and just practice them over and over, so that when you get them in the game, you don't feel overwhelmed by them. So I do think a lot of people have been unnecessarily vicious with the controls. They're not perfect. They could have probably been done better with just simple button pushes, but at the same time, they're trying to be the game that makes you want a Wii U. They're trying to be the game that can't be played on anything else. Unfortunately, I honestly do feel like the controls, for the most part, could have been replicated on buttons. There are some instances where you need to have the gamepad, where you need to be able to draw. I mean, quick time events in this game are so much better than any other game I've ever played, because you get a timer come up, and it's not everyone. Some of them you just have to jump and you hit the button at the right time, but some of them it's like you get a timer come up and a bus is flying at you, and you very quickly have to make a sword to slash through the bus or to punch it away or something like that, and it's very fun and very good, and that I think does need the control system that they've built. But A lot of the game doesn't need it, and it does make it overly complicated. And when you do get a new power, if you've not went into the missions or anything to practice it, if it's just thrust upon you, and it's a very similar combination to how you do one of the other gear, like one of the other powers, like the bomb is like a double circle or something. At least that's what I'm ended up doing. That's the only way I can get to pull it off. I do a bit of a line and then a double circle. It turns purple, even though it's Wonder Black who does it. Makes you think that he should have been Wonder Purple. And you do that and you pull the bomb out, whereas the fist is you do a regular circle, but you can also do a regular circle recruit people, and there's a lot of similar movements, and it's why button pushers would have helped with that, because it does feel overwhelming at times. And when you're getting the power and you're too busy trying to do that, and also you've got things coming up in the left corner saying how to do it, and you've got things coming up telling you your mission stats, and you've got bombs flying at you off screen that you can't see, you'll get yourself killed so many times and you'll get frustrated with it. It is a very much trial and error game, and it could have been avoided if you just simply pushed, right, I'll push this button to change to fist, I'll push this button to change to sword. I can just cycle through the 7 or so powers just by pushing 2 or 3 buttons, you know, or by tapping on the screen at a certain place and have pictures come up. It would have fixed a lot of people's problems, and it would have probably made this a 9 out of 10 game by a lot of people's standards. And it is a bit of a shame, because people have harassed people so much that online that they've came out and they've snapped. I think it's Hideki Kamiya who makes the game. Well, I know he makes the game. He actually destroys the city, to be fair. There's probably a part of the cutscene coming up now where his name will fly across, destroying a building, and I think that's very evil of him. And yes, I say that totally tongue-in-cheek, but he's the one who I think went on to some social networking site or another. Honestly, YouTube is the most social networking I do, and even then people will tell you I'm anti-social, which is the truth. And it's just one of those things that I don't like any form of social networking, really. So I find these out on gaming sites where people say blah 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 snapped, said this on blah blah blah, and it's such a shame that the guy did get harassed to the point that he ended up snapping and having a go. At the end of the day, you don't get into video games to get such negative feedback on such a point when it's not the end of the world. This game is like 90% perfect and then 10% wrong, and a lot of the time that can ruin a game for someone. And I've said it so many times on the Wii that motion controls ruined the game for me. On this, because it's just learning how to maneuver them, and they can all be done if you just practice. It's not that they're unresponsive, it's that they're too similar at times, so you just need to learn little tricks. I mean, as I say, I don't even know if I'm doing the right motion half the time. I just do what I know works to get the right colour to appear, to get the right power to appear. And if people just spend a bit of time in the wonderful missions doing that and messing around, then they'll probably find that they don't really have a major problem with it, and they'll find that the game is the game they've been hoping for since the Wii U's launch. This is honestly the only Wii U game I actually wanted. I didn't want the system. I made that very vocally known. My brother bought the system anyway, and I actually fell in love with it. But this was still that one game of everything else, when everyone was having a laugh saying, oh, Nintendo Land, oh yeah, it's just more minigame crap from Nintendo, how they haven't changed. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, but Wonderful 101 looks sweet. I mean, that really does, yeah, that is the game for me. So when he said he bought it, I pre-ordered the game, and I've been waiting for it ever since. And for me, it hasn't disappointed. It is a fantastic game, just with a few problems. Graphically, I think the game is fantastic. It's why I've put this section on, because yes, it's just the start and it's what everyone's going to see at the start, but it is one of the best places to see and at the same time for me to talk, because the game is so overwhelming. Being able to do the controls and talk at the same time. Hell, you've seen is in the mission mode. I was struggling to do the commands that I've been practicing all morning and for the last couple of days, and I was practicing and learnt from playing the demo again and again, you know, and I was struggling to do those simple things just because I was trying to talk and read from a list and that and see what powers there are and things like that. So I thought, put this on, warble on to me heart's content, as much as many people might hate it, the warbling. And at least that way you get to see some of the, well, style of the game, I suppose. Everything, as you can see, kind of looks like it's a toy, and it does work really well. Graphically, I think it looks fantastic because of that. I think the explosions look nice. I think it is one of those games that really does say this is Nintendo HD. It's just a shame that at the time we're waiting on other consoles to come out that'll basically say, well, this is Sony HD and this is Microsoft HD. Graphics don't make a game, but at the same time, it's not going to be long before people start bandying around the 8-year-old tech thing which they've been saying about the Wii U since launch. Which is another shame, because honestly, you wouldn't have been able to do the second screen experience 8 years ago, and while Nintendo now have a lot of competition following Gamescom and the whole PS Vita will actually be a second screen for every game, I think it does mean Nintendo's going to have to up their game and show that they can do something that anyone else can't. And it's why games like this need to exist. It's why they've tried to make the controls the way they have, to try and make it an experience that nothing else can do. However, it's just one of those that at the same time, every time someone tries something new, something seems to go wrong, and then people slate it for that, and they focus on that, and they get very vicious about it. And it is annoying, because honestly I am in love with the game myself, and it's just such a shame to see how many people have slated it. Standard gameplay, you've already seen us creating the characters and like creating different power-ups, and the whole point is it's a bit like Pikmin in the fact that you go around and you recruit people and then you create designs out of those recruits into swords, guns, rocket launchers, hammers, bombs, fists, claws, whips, and the more people you've got, the more powerful they are, and then you use those to kick the crap out of every single enemy on screen, to complete puzzles, because you can also make bridges or chains or hand gliders. You know, you can just make all sorts of stuff to help you out. And it's just mental. It is one of those games that you'll probably play through it 2 or 3 times before you understand it. It's just absolutely fantastic. The humour in the game is great, and this is again why I put this on, because this is one of the scenes that first shows the humour, because obviously everything's freeze framed except for the main character at the time, and as the speech goes on he gets more and more erratic. But back to the gameplay, it is something that I would honestly recommend playing the demo first of all. If you were overwhelmed by that, play it again a few times. If you're still overwhelmed, I don't think it's the game for you, because it doesn't get better, it gets worse. It gets more complicated every time it adds a new power or a new chain or a new bridge or anything like that you have to do. It just makes it more and more overwhelming. But it's like an old school game, I suppose. It doesn't hold your hand, it expects you to get better, and you can get better just by playing. You will get to the point that you can play it and not have any problems, and it's just a shame that before the game's even released, there's already so many people swore off it because they know the controls are terrible, even though a lot of people won't have played it, because at the time the demo wasn't even out in all regions. And it's just annoying, it really is, because as you might be able to tell, I am totally in love with the game and would love to see a Wonderful 102 or 101-2 or however they would do the sequel. I'd also love to see Capcom now get Platinum Games to make Beautiful Joe, because all the way playing through this I kept thinking, this is so much like Beautiful Joe in a certain way. There's just certain parts that you think, and the design and the way the characters are, and it makes me think that Beautiful Joe, Capcom need to hire them in to do it, and it just would be awesome, because that's another experience I used to have on the GameCube that I absolutely loved. So even though it would probably go multi-platform like all Capcom games tend to do, and Beautiful Joe indeed went after being promised to be GameCube exclusive and then it was just timed exclusive, it's the sort of thing that I'd love to see the dev now take on Beautiful Joe, make the third game that everyone wants and has wanted for a while, to erase the memories of the awful DS one and put it on Wii U, maybe a year before everything else, while things are going a bit slow at the moment for it. It just would be awesome to see. Anyway, I've done a hell of a lot of warbling whilst doing very little gameplay, because I am telling the truth. It is one of those games that's completely overwhelming, and you just need to learn how to play it, and being able to talk, read and play an overwhelming game at the same time is not a skill that I have mastered, and it's not a skill that many people will have mastered. So apologies if you were expecting some in-depth showing boss battles and things like that off, but I do see it on a lot of vids that I just try to show the basics, the fundamentals, mention how the game plays, mention things like that, and hopefully it's enough of an information video, I suppose, to actually get you to know if you want the game. As well as all of the different abilities and that you learn. There's a load of different like collectibles and things, and it'll come up who you've rescued, and there's things with that. You might have noticed if you played the demo looking at your actual screen on the gamepad that it was constantly coming up things and information that you'd unlocked, and it's information that I've currently got now on the gamepad, and I've pulled it up there, so that's like a list of people basically and that, and there's loads of items in the games, and there's things that you can get, ingredients to make items, and there's items you can buy in the shop, there's abilities you can buy in the shop, there's power-ups, and it's just one of those things that there is so much to do on this. It's unbelievable. Honestly, if you fall in love with a game, then you're not gonna find yourself after 2 hours thinking, well, that's me done, I'll never play it again. It isn't that sort of game. It's the sort of game that you can play and you'll think, well, I can't believe I just missed out on getting the platinum there. I'll play that again and again and again, and not everyone will want to beat the game with like the best rank on every single mission and section, and I don't even know if there is an unlockable for that, because obviously the game is very new and I've not found any information. That it would be cool to think that there is some sweet unlockable for getting total platinum all the way through the game, you know. But even if there isn't, there's still going to be a lot of people who just want to do it because they might want to master the game, or they might want to unlock the little unlockables that you get and like complete the screens that are showing you there and that, you know. It is the sort of game that you can sink many an hour into if you fall in love with it. If you hate it, then you'll probably get rid of it after a mission and think it was a waste of money. It's why I will say again, you really need to try the demo. It's nowhere near as bad as people are making out. The controls can be worked on and you can practice and get better with them. And it's just until you do that, then you will have a bit of trouble. But honestly, a lot of the hatred for the game is unjust at this moment in time, and it's a shame. It really is. And I think I've also managed to mess up because I don't think I've collected someone that I should have, because I don't know if I've got enough to pull off this chain that I need to do. If I jump, maybe? No, if I jump, I die. Anyway, it's just one of those things though. It's there's nothing much I can really say about the game that I haven't already said without warbling on yet again. One thing that I can at least say before I finish probably with a bit of the music of the game, which I do think is fantastic. It just adds to the whole charm. It's got cheesy camp songs that are just like, it's the type of crap that you'd expect from 60s shows and that, like 60s Batman, but it's obviously done tongue-in-cheek, and because of that it just makes it awesome. The tune through the first mission there is just constantly gushing over the Wonder Team and how awesome they are, and if you just sit and listen to it, it is really funny the way it goes on. But I can at least show you the shop screen simply to, well, tell you a little bit about the sorts of things you can buy. You can get shocking red bombs, and this is again why the game reminds me so much of Beautiful Joe, and thinks that maybe there is someone who worked at the dev team, and because I know Clover shut down and I don't know what became of them, and I'm starting to think they did actually become Platinum Games, because anyone who's played Beautiful Joe will remember Shocking Pink, which was a pink bomb on Beautiful Joe, and for that to be Shocking Red and a red bomb, it does feel like there's something there. You can buy dummies, you can buy victory torpedoes and that. They were present in the demo, but in the demo it said something along the lines of if you used it then you didn't get a good ranking for the mission, because it was like essentially a super guide thing. So I've kind of stayed clear of buying many items because I don't know what is or isn't good. I've just went with the bare basics as I've went through the game. You can buy these basically like your night morphs and that. You can buy custom blocks, you could buy skills and things, so it's just the stuff that I mentioned, and at the start there is quite a bit available there, but not available to you, because as you can see on this file, I've basically done 2 missions now, and I've barely got any money to buy anything at all. So it is one of those things that you are going to be replaying missions to get better scores to get enough money to buy the item that you want. So I suppose now I can just end with a little bit of the music, and to reiterate something I've probably said 19 times now, play the demo. If you like the demo, definitely get the game. It is fantastic. It's something that I really was looking forward to, and it hasn't disappointed for me. The controls can be learned, they can be practiced, you can figure out how to do them. There are times when you'll still feel hindered, and when the camera screws you over maybe because something will fly off screen that you won't see, and you'll get blown up by it, and you'll find yourself restarting from a checkpoint. But that's just like standard old school gameplay. It was never meant to be about you'll be able to beat the game in one sitting with absolutely no challenge, and that's why I like this as much as I do, because it's just, well, it does remind me of an old school game. This is the closest thing I can probably think of that a SNES game would look like in a Wii U title. You know, it's fantastic because of that. You can, as you might notice, skip the cutscenes, which I'm only doing here simply to just get to a little bit of gameplay while I shut up for the music. And presentation values, it's very rare that I mention them, but it's something that I do think is above and beyond on this, because every time you come into a new set of enemies, this happens and the game goes all matrix, and you get like information about the enemies and about items that you collected and things. It's just awesome, it really is. That you can tell they've spent a lot of time on how the game handles, and how it looks and that, rather than tweaking the controls to make it so that people wouldn't slate it. And it's one of those, they're probably uber happy with how the controls play on the gamepad, as will a lot of people be, but it is one of those things that the maybe should have also included, just like, even if it's just pushing one button cycles through the 7 abilities or something, you know, even if they'd just done that, then it mightn't have got as much flack, and maybe the guy wouldn't have exploded on Twitter or whatever, and maybe then he wouldn't have been open to even more criticism from, well, pricks, quite frankly, I suppose is the only way to put it. Well, that was a little bit of the music, and there's only really a couple of things I can actually think of to mention, because I was originally going to end with the music, as I did see it, but it's something that I was at least able to show off there that I forgot to mention, that your team behind you aren't just there to create weapons, they're not just as useless as that. You can actually create them weapons. So just by doing that there, anyone who wasn't part of my sword, I could make them have a sword too, or I could make them have a fist or something, you know. And it's just really cool that you can at least use them as well as that, and you can use 2 different abilities at the same time, and it is quite cool. You can also send them to collect items, because just by hitting the X button naturally, you fire them forward. So if I aim this upright, when the trees are out of the way, they collected the items, so I didn't have to. And it's just, again, it's things like that. I also love the attention to detail, as you might have noticed, when I was holding a massive sword and I tried to run under a low bridge, and I had to actually move the sword before it would let me go under the bridge. Things like that. It really does feel awesome that they've done it. So, what with next door's dog, I think now was the perfect time to end. So there we go then. That's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.